Happy to see that we got a little bit of a crew here today. So, for some repetition, this is the session that we call the first steps in Weavy. What that means is that this will be more of a simple onboarding where we walk through what the UI looks like in Weavy, how to start new projects, and also how to run some of the more basic nodes and make sure that everybody who doesn't come from like a node-based environment background also understand what we what how to use Weavy. So the only other thing that I want to say is that we have two sessions every week. So we do this on Mondays at 4 o'clock p.m. Central European Time. On Thursdays, we also do office hours, which is also at 4 p.m. Central European Time. The difference is that in office hours, we try to go into more advanced workflows, look at some of the new features in Weavy, troubleshoot some of the users' workflows so that they can share their screen and we take a look at what they do and how we can help them solve their bugs and problems that they have in Weavy so that we all can learn together, which is pretty fun. So I also want to just take a second and tell people to join that as well because it's very, very helpful. Yes, the absolute last thing that I want to mention is that this is being recorded today so that I can repost it in the Weavy channels so that everybody can rewatch it and for the people that were not able to make this live session today. So that being said, if you want to come up on stage and ask questions, which I really, really want you guys to do, but also keep in mind that you are being recorded, so you are basically saying that you're okay with that. And today will be mostly for starters. So we're gonna go through the very basic UI. Maybe at the end, there might be like 5 minutes for questions about more advanced workflows, but I really wanna make sure that this is the starting basic workshop where we go through all the regular onboarding things and answer the simple questions as well. On Thursdays, we do the more advanced ones. Cool. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Cool. So for everybody that are new in Discord, you can double click and the small window that is next to my camera. So in that way it's gonna become large and then you can watch the stream. You can also ask questions in the chat and I'll try to answer questions there as well. Cool. So this is what the dashboard in Weavy looks like. And what you got here on top is the workflow library. This is really good for both for learning, but also for taking a look at how we work with different models, what nodes we use to glue the different Gen AI models together, and also for you guys to copy paste part of the workflow and things like that. So we try to update them all the time with new workflows when new models come out and things like that. So that's a really good way to learn, but also to just, take parts of our workflow and copy and paste it into yours. The second part is the tutorial part that starts from very easy and goes to advanced, which is also super helpful. I personally like watching a few tutorials before jumping into a new software, especially taking a look at the UI and things like that. We'll do that today, but in case you want to do that again, you can go through some of the tutorials. Then you got the menu here to the left, and you have My Files. Everything that is in My Files is private to you, so you are the only one that can access these files here. So you can, for example, add a new workflow or a new folder, for example. You also have shared with me, so that's if somebody has shared a workflow with you. You also have workspace files, and this is for you guys that are working within teams or organizations. So if you are part of a workspace, all the workflows that you keep in workspace files, they are shareable with the team, so people can see those files. They are not private anymore. The last step is apps, and we'll go more into that later, but we have something called app mode, and those will be saved in apps. So that's pretty much it for the main UI here. You can search for files, so maybe you search for pose, and everything that comes up with the name of pose will come up here. The way that you create a new file is either by right-clicking here in the dashboard, press new file, or you can create file here or here up to the right. You are usually met when you start a new file, you are met with this little tutorial, which is good, but today I am the tutorial, so we don't need to do that. And then you can rename things up here, first steps, so you can rename the workflow. And then you have on the left, you also have a menu up here where you can create a new file, you can duplicate it, share it. You also have a few preferences, so you can that you can change between. And then if you click on any of these icons here on the left side, this menu will open up. Here you can search for different models or different nodes. So you can, if I search for text, everything with a text is gonna show up. What you can also do is that if you want a specific input, you can search for any model that uses mask, and then for output you would like an image. Then you can see that these are the models that take it. So for example, Ideogram has a mask input and gives you an image output. So that's one example to use the menu, but I'm just gonna delete those. And you can scroll up and down here. So we start with quick access, which are all the ones that that will be the tool that you use the most. So those will be updated in real time when you use a bunch of different tools. In the toolbox, we got our image and video editing tools, things like levels or the compositor, really good tools to use. We got different kind of mask extractors, and then we got all our text tools, the iterators, and a few helper nodes, data types, and then we have the image models. So we try to categorize them. So here you got the image models that can generate from text, for example, so you don't have to start with an image. So we got Rev, you can have an image input as well, but what you have to use is the text. If we go down, we got the vector graphics, we got the image editors, we got all the enhancers, so the upscalers, for example. Then we come to the video models. Here we try to do the same thing, so generate from text or image are the first ones. And then we come through the ones that are generate from video, where you can actually do edits to videos. So things like Runway LF, for example. We got the lip sync model, so we added a few moderated models as well. We got the video enhancers, and then we got the 3D models. At the bottom, you also see the community models. I wouldn't think too much about that in the beginning when you're new to Weavy, but do know that there are more models than the ones that we moderate in our menus. The ones in our menus are the really popular ones and big ones that we try to moderate and create a specific UI for and things like that. But you can also go to a service like Fal AI and search for any kind of model you want. So maybe you want to search for an audio model. You go there, and then you can just copy and paste the address of that model. And then you go to Weavy, you search for import model, and in the import model, you just copy paste it, and that is going to create a node for that as well. So it's good to keep in mind that every model that is on fal or replicate, you can use them on Weavy as well by just copy and pasting the address. But that's a little bit of overcourse for this specific session, so we're not going to go into too much depth on that. You can also use this button here to click around if you think that's faster. At the bottom, we got the assets. So all the assets that are generated in this project will be saved here, so you can drag it in. Then we got this little question mark, and this one is really important because one, you can go and look at our FAQ and all our kind of questions, but if you're not unable to solve that, you can also send us a message. And when you send us a message, you can ask for feature requests or help with bugs or ask for advice. And this is actually not just some sort of AI support chat. You're actually writing direct messages to us. So please use this, and we'll try to answer as soon as we can. Unless it's in the middle of the night, we are usually pretty good at answer and staying up to date. At the bottom, we also have a link to our Discord channel, but you are all here, so I don't think you need any help with that. At the bottom, we have undo buttons and drag options. You can zoom in, but I usually just use my mouse scroll to do that. And that's pretty much it for the basic UI. So how do you add a node here? So I showed you a little bit, but what you can do is that you can drag in something here from the menu on the left. So if you want to use Rev, for example, you can just drag it and drop it. And that's one way to add a node. The second way is to right click into the canvas, and this little menu shows up, and you can find all the models here, or you can search for them. So if I search for Rev, I can also add Rev here. So that's the second way to do it. But let's not use Rev, let's use a fast model. So let's use something like Imagen Fast. And then what you want to do is that you want to add a text prompt. So let's search for prompt, and this little text node show up. And then what you do is that you see that the text nodes have outputs on the right side, and image nodes have inputs on the left side and outputs on the right side. So what you want to do is that you drag out from the output on the right side, and it's going to snap, but what you want to do is that you want to drag it to the input on the right side. What you also can do is that you can drag and release it out into the canvas, and then all these suggestion nodes are going to show up. All the ones that are suggested are all the nodes that work with the node that you started dragging out from. So that way it gets automatically added. Now it looked like I disappeared from the stage. Okay, I am back. And I just want to make sure that you guys can still hear me, because it seemed like I was taken off the stage for some reason. So if anybody could write in the chat that they can still hear me, that would be awesome. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Perfect. Thank you, Pareto Design. And there I'm streaming again. So here you got to stream. Okay, yes. This is where we were. Let's delete Bria. And so now that we have this connected, let's just generate something very simple. So what I am going to generate is just cat. So I write cat here, and then I mark my image model. When I do that, you can see that this little menu on the right side show up here. And you can see one is the credits. So how much each generation of Google Imagen 3 Fast costs. It's going to cost me 3 credits. You can see your total amount of credits on the top. You have a share button, which works pretty much like in Google Spaces, Workspaces. And then you got a few settings. I would say usually, if you're just getting into Eevee and AI generation, the settings that are set to start with usually work pretty good to generate just a simple image. But it's good to get more into the different kind of, aspect ratios and different kind of settings. For this one, we're just gonna use the regular ones. At the bottom, you can do multiple runs. So you can see that the credits also changes at the same time. But I'm just gonna do one run now. So you can either do run model here in the node or run selected here. And then you see that a percentage shows up, and that's to give you an indication of how fast the generation is gonna go. So now we have our first cat. Perfect. You can see that if you right click the image, you can do download all, or set cover. You can also copy the image. So if you do that and then you Command V, you can add more of them. You also have this little menu up here to the right, the 3 dots, where you can duplicate, delete, you can lock something so that you can't move it. You unlock it basically by pressing the little lock. And you can rename it, which can be nice for organizational purposes. And you can download it. So you can download current and download all. And you can remove it and remove all generations. And I'll show you the differences there as well. You also have this little, if you hover up above the image, you can see the resolution down to the left. And you can see this little enlarge symbol up to the right. If you do that, if you press that, a larger image is going to show up. From here you can download it and copy the link. What you can also do if you press this little I button is that you can see the prompt that was generated, which can be nice if you go back in history and take a look at an image you generated a while ago. You can still see the prompt and the settings that was used for that specific image. So that is that. You can either X or ESC, use ESC to go out. But let's generate some more. So let's do 3 at once. So that's going to cost me 9 credits. Then you can see that 0 out of 3 are ready. And it's going to start thinking. And then it's going to generate multiple images of cats. So now you can see that this little change page UI showed up to the left. And so now, and there you can go back and forth between the different generations of the different cats. And you can keep them all in here, and if you copy the node, they're all gonna come with you. So you can see that you still have 4, so you can put them next to each other if you want to do something like that. I'm gonna delete that. And now let's just take a quick look at what happens if you want to download current. So if you download current, you're only gonna download the cat that you're looking at. If you download all, you're gonna download all 4 generations of the cats. Same thing with remove. So if you remove current generation, that cat is gonna disappear. Now we only have 3 cats left. And remove all other generations, it's gonna take out the 2 other images, and now we only have 1 cat left. If you want to take out all of them, you can use to remove all generations, and then you don't have any cats left. And so that's how to remove it. Let's make our first video. So let's do something, let's say a cat from a distance. And let's do one of that. And while it's thinking, we can generate, so there we got a little cat, and we're gonna attach it to a video model. So I'm gonna drag out from the right side, and then you can go through here and take a look at which videos work with it, or you can just drag out from the left side. So you can, for example, in this menu, you can use something like image input, an video output. And then you get all the models that can do that. So for this example, let's just use something like Veo 3, for example. So you add that, and then you can see that the output here is green, and that's because it's an image, and the input here is green, it's because it takes an input image. You can also see that some of the inputs have small stars above them. The stars are the ones you have to use to be able to run that models. The ones that don't have a star is optional. So let's connect this to the first frame. And we can also see that there's a text prompt here. So it needs a text prompt. So let's add another prompt. And let's attach that here. And let's say the cat walks out of frame. You should usually use way more descriptive prompts than this. This is used to get it easy. And then you choose the different kind of settings that you have here. Let's do 1080. And let's run that. And then we should soon have our videos. Negative prompts, you don't have to use, but those are if you really want to avoid something. So if there's like an object you want to avoid in the scene, or cartoon, like a cartoon style, then you would add another prompt that says something like, you know, things you might want to avoid. So cartoon, AI, unrealistic, surrealism, for example. And then you add that to the negative prompt, and it's going to try to avoid anything that is related to those kind of images. So video takes a little bit longer than the image models. They also cost a little bit more. So you can see that an image here costs 3, and Veo 3, which is one of the more expensive video models, costs 120. So it's good to keep track of working with image versus video, because it can get expensive and kind of fast with video. But there's also a lot of different models that are a lot cheaper than Veo. So if we got Minimax here, it only costs 32, for example. But Veo 3 is one of the better ones. And we're also expecting to get Veo 3.1, which should have first frame and last frame, which is going to be exciting. Should come today or tomorrow or something like that. We're just waiting for them to release the API before we can upload it. So now we got our first video. So let's zoom in, and then we click play. And you can see that the cat slowly walked out of frame, which was nice. You can turn off the sound here, you can do full screen, things like that. And you can download your videos, and you have the same kind of options with video as images when it comes to downloading. So that's that. We got our first video, we got our first image. So the next really important tool is working with text, because text is usually an input to images or videos. And the way that we work with text to make it even more powerful is something like the AnyLLM node. So if you search for any, you can see run AnyLLM. And this is the node that is holding all the text models. So here on the right side, you can see all the famous text models. You can choose which one you like, and you choose that. And then what you can do is that you can add instructions to it. So let's do some testing here and here. And we're saying write a short phrase about a cat. And then we attach it to the text model, we run that, and it's going to write us a very short. So it says something like, a sleek cat stretched lazily in golden patch of sunlight. So that's usually how we give it just a simple instruction. If we want to do something more advanced, we usually tell it what to do in the prompt. And then I add a second prompt to the system prompt here. So just for the sake of it, I'm going to rename this one to system prompt. You don't have to do this. This is just to make it look a little slicker. Then you attach that to the system prompt. And in the system prompt, you can tell it how to do this first prompt. So usually, you can say something, write the phrase in all caps, which is not something you usually do, but just to showcase it. And you run the model, and then it writes a playful cat chases the sunbeams in all caps. So you can give it different kind of instructions and really build on it. What we also often use it is to tell the AI that they are an art director and how we want it to structure the prompt, if there's a specific structure or things like that. It also takes image input. So if you want to add this little cat here, it can also analyze that image. So now that we added that, it's going to know that that image is here, and we're going to tell it to describe the image, and we'll do that. And then it's going to do this and follow the system prompts, and it's telling us that the image shows a close-up of a tabby cat, blah, 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 blah. So those are really simple examples, and you can go through the examples here, which is nice. You can do full screen mode. So that is super powerful for working with text prompt. And then usually what you use is that you use the output of this for a new image. So maybe I drag something out, I search for fast, and then we do another image of a cat. Maybe we'll actually change the aspect ratio this time, and then it's going to follow this prompt in this image node. This is going to be very similar because this one is just describing this image. So that's that. Another good text tool to use is something called the prompt concatenator. So if we search for prompt, we got the prompt concatenator. This is a tool where you can add multiple text prompts together. So if I add this one here, this is going to show up here. If I add the second one there, it's going to show up after. So you can see that it just adds it, right, the phrase in the caps. So this can be good if there are multiple images that are being analyzed, and they're all being analyzed in different text prompts. And then at the end of the workflow, you want to add them all together and get a final output for an image, for example. And then at the end here, you can also add something extra. So more text. You can see that that is being added to the end. You can add multiple inputs. You can have more text inputs. And then you can use that for input for images and videos and things like that. So that's a really, really good tool as well. Let's see. Let's get rid of these two, and let's go down to the text tools. I think something that is also good is the image describer, which is just a simple way to do a description. So if you add that to an image, you can change the instructions here on the right side, but what it automatically is that it's just going to describe this image as well. We also got a video describer that does the same thing for a video. So you attach a video, and so this you can see that it's just going to give a description of a cat. We got the prompt enhancer, so let's add that. So this one you can add any kind of prompt that you have written. So now we add this description of the cat, and then we're gonna run this model that is trained on making better prompts. So it's gonna reiterate and maybe do it that a little bit better. Those are the most important text tools. And then we have a bunch of different editing tools. So one of the more important one is the one called a compositor. And the compositor is kind of like a mini Photoshop. So if I add an image there, so I drag out from this cat and I add it to the background, it's gonna show up there. And maybe I want to layer something more. So if I add this other image of a cat, that is also gonna show up there. And if you go into press edit, it's gonna open up, and here you can move things around, you can scale things. So let's just make a tiny image, and then you can rotate things around, and you can do different kind of blend modes, alignments, things like that. What you can also do in the compositor, which is nice, is that you can add text to it. So let's maybe add this text. Oh, first we have to add a new layer so that another input shows up. You can add multiple ones, but let's add this, and then you see that this text shows up here. And in the text tool, you have different kind of fonts, and you can do different kind of weights and different kind of styles and different kind of alignments. Maybe you want to do white text, and you also might want to do something like that. Maybe it's way too large, so maybe you do something like size 8, and then you add a text to there as well. So you can do any kind of like text editings, and then it shows up there. Another really good node is the Painter node. So if you search for Painter, you can add any kind of image to the Painter, and then you can paint on top of it. So what I do sometimes is that if I want to paint like a manual mask, you can do that. So you drag up the size, and then you can like mask out this little cat, for example, and then you can use that for mask output. So if we add something like a preview node and we add a mask, the results maybe. I think that the mask, it's been showing it before. Anyway, that is basically gonna only it's gonna read this as a mask, and you can use this for models like ideogram in Paint models that takes a mask, and add that to the mask while the image is being added there, and then it's only gonna do work where the mask is, for example. Those are some of the more used tools, and then you have like all the different kind of video models and image models and things like that. We have different kind of mask tools. So you can do a mask extractor, for example. The mask extractor, you can go into mask mode, or you can stay here, and it's gonna recognize different structures in the image. So you can like hold shift and mask multiple things, for example, and then you use that for the mask input as an example. So that's that. Those are pretty much all the most common tool. There's a few other nice helper tools here and image editing tools that can be nice to use. I think those are most of the things that we want to touch on. We got this little router node. This is more of like an organizational node. So you can add any node into it, and that is gonna come out on the other side. And we can do that, for example, to make the nodes don't look as messy. Or if you wanna attach it to multiple things, so if I attach it to these two at the same time, so now this image is attached to both these images, but maybe I wanna change the image input instead of having to do that. If I add another image, let's copy this one here on the top, and instead of dragging this twice over here, and if you have that 10 times, that can be really annoying. But if it's connected to the router and you already set it up once, so it's like this, then all you need to do is attach that to the router, and then that is gonna be updated. So that can be really handy as well. If you add the output node, that is going to create, and you add that to an input, that is going to create something called the app mode. So if you press the app mode up here on the top, you can do variations and you can change different variables here. So let's say dog, and then you can run that same workflow here without having to take a look at the nodes. It's just gonna run from app mode, which can be nice if you work with a client, for example, and they can then download the images from here. Oh yeah, the painter is not does not work with app mode. So let's just add this here, and then we do that again. You're gonna see that now it only says dog. Let's do that run, and this time it should work because the painter tool is not supported in app mode. So now we got a dog, and you can download it from here, which is kind of handy. So that's pretty much it for like the absolute most basic functions of Weavy. So now I'm just gonna take a few minutes to see if there are any questions. I see there's one question in the chat. Let's start with that. Are there nodes only available when you have a specific plan? For example, the mask extractor? No, all the nodes are available on all plans. So we do not differentiate between plans at all when it comes to nodes. So you have access to that. And yes, please let me know if you have any other questions. You can just raise your hand or write in the chat and I'll bring you up on stage. And I'm happy to answer any kind of questions or troubleshooting that we could do together. Okay, so if that's not the case, I'm gonna go ahead and show you some other cool stuff. Yes, one of the good things that you can do is that you can go to FalAI and you can download this, and maybe you search for something like Qwen image. So we got Qwen Image Edit Plus, which is a good model for typography. So then you can copy that. You can also try it here in Fal if you have, and you can go into requests and you can take a look at your request. If you have any problems, then you can press your request and take a look at input and outputs and try to troubleshoot things that way. It might be a little bit advanced if you're a new user. You can take a look at analytics to see if there are any problems with this model. This seems to be not have any runs at the moment. And then you go back, when you copy the URL address, you go back into Weavy and then you search for import model, and then you just copy and paste the address, and that's gonna change that model. And then you can use that in exactly the same way that we've done before. So like a cat in the distance, you have all these settings, and then you can run it, and it should work pretty well. Oh, this one is looking for an image URL, so it's a bad model for us to try. But that's something good that is good to keep in mind. Something else that can be which nodes are used to improve or modify prompts. To modify prompts, the absolute most important node is this AnyLLM node. So let me show you an example. So I'm gonna go here into my files, and then we're gonna take a look at this. And here you can see that I wrote this prompt. So for example, I'm starting by generating this image that I generated. And then I use this image describer get a really good explanation of what this looks like. So you can see that it gives me a pretty long explanation of exactly what this image looks like. And then I add that to a prompt concatenator, so that shows up in the beginning. And then I add a little bit more because I'm going to use this as a video prompt, and this is just an image description. So I'm using the image description, and then I add my own video instructions. But then I want to fit that perfectly to the Sora 2 model, and that has a specific way of understanding prompts. So I'm using a system prompt here that are having all the Sora 2 prompt guidelines. So you can see that I added all the guidelines and instructions for writing prompts for Sora 2. And at the end, I also added a few examples of what they should look like. So you can see that it's more of a more structured prompt than the one that you usually write yourself. It uses different categories and things like that. And then I add that to the system prompt of this NeLLM tool. And then when I also add the one that I wrote, it's going to rewrite that in that style. So here you can see that it's pretty much exactly the same prompt, but it has categorized things down. It broken down my actions into a numbered sequence and things like that, so that it's easier for Sora 2 to understand. And then I use that for the text input into Sora 2. And then you'll get something like this.
Stay gold, pony boy.
So that's one way of improving prompts. What you can also use is this, the image describer is very good, the video describer is good, also the prompt enhancer you can use, which can be nice, but I usually try to add a little bit of extra information, either here on the right side, you can write whatever you want, or through adding a system prompt to the NeLLM prompt. That's really the best way to improve a prompt. Cool. Another tool that can be very, very helpful is actually using something like 3D. Most designers were pretty frustrated in the beginning of the Gen AI era because they went from full control to no control. In Weavy, we tried to take that control back over all the AI models, and we do that by using image and video editing tools and also 3D tools. So one example could be trying to achieve a specific angle or a specific placement of an object, something like a bird. And if you want to try to achieve that with just text and images, it can be very tedious to get the perfect angle and placement. So what I use is 3D tools instead. So in the beginning of this workflow, I'm starting by generating two different images. One background of some traffic lights, and then I generated a couple of 2D examples of a pigeon, and I just picked the one I liked. Then I added that to one of our 3D nodes. We have multiple ones, but there's one called Ronan that is really good, and that's going to create a 3D mesh from a 2D image. And what is nice is that you can rotate this around and move it around, and if you add that to a compositor node, you can see that it's updates in real time. So you can like really try to tweak it in and like put it exactly and the way you want it. Let's zoom in a little bit. Maybe that's a bit too much, so something like that, and then you move it down a little bit, move down. It's a little bit too much. So you can like really tweak it in until it really sits exactly where you want it to sit. And then I use that, the composited layers for structure to guide any kind of image model. So in this case I'm using Stable Diffusion, but you can use any model, and you can see that it does a pretty good job of keeping the structure and the placement of the bird, but it's going to make it look way more unified than my composited layer bird here. So that's a really good way to take the control back. Then in the last step, I just added it to a video node and told it to look scared for a car horn. So that is nice. Is the structure of Sora 2 prompt that you put into the AnyLLM node available in Weavy or from any other site? From the Sora site, they have all the guidelines in their help site. So I just copied all the text there. But also I can send you a DM with just the text from it. We don't save it in Weavy. It's just a manual. It's just manual input. And you can do that with any kind of model. I usually go to their websites, and if we go to something like Higgs field, and you try to, if you click into maybe an example that you like, so maybe I like this one, and then you can see the prompt that they use here, and those are good for copying and using as examples and things like that. And then they usually have different kind of other ways to find out how to prompt the different kind of models. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And let me know if you guys have any other questions. Otherwise, I'll just repeat it, that we are doing these sessions every Monday at 4:00 p.m. Central European Time. We're also starting to record this, so you can find the recording of this in this new sub-channel that is called Weavy Live. So there we're gonna post reminders about these sessions, but also every recording of each session so that you can rewatch it. Yeah, and so that will be a nice little library of these. The first steps usually looks very similar to each other, but the office hours might be of more interest to rewatch and learn from, pretty much. So that's that. I hope you all had a good time and that you are enjoying Weavy. We are super proud of our platform, and we think it's a lot of fun, and we see a lot of value into the Weavy pipeline in like large companies and also smaller ones as well. So yeah, hopefully you see that value as well. And if you don't have any more questions, I'm gonna end this session, and then I am going to place the recording into that channel so that you can find it. Thank you very much.